A human with dominance and no stimulation. A human who's dominant with no stimulation involved has sovereignty, described by a combat veteran from Iraq and Afghanistan. An Iraqi combat veteran as sovereignty. Not so different than a monk, a nun, a pope. God, Allah, and countless other religious descriptions of Allah, who doesn't need stimulation, no different than Jesus, who died saying he didn't want stimulation, but unfortunately was dominant. And those with dominance in the Holy Bible killed Jesus. Arguably in language and philosophy and theory and theology and the other parts of sound and written sentences. Nonetheless, dominance, no stimulation. Beginning with a stimulation not bothered, followed by a next stimulation assisting other humans with defeating dominance and stimulation. And what's remaining then has to do with nothing more than political ideology. Resource sharing, economic compassion, beautiful art and love. Still involving stimulation. But with a different mathematical trajectory than the language of the invisible hand and the money and the algorithms and artificial intelligence currently doing what humans refuse to do with psychology and psychiatry in outer space. However, until there's no stimulation and dominance, a human never learns about what they're doing with their body and brain in the world, in their dominant decisions and choices. I'd go blind and deaf trying to explain any other way other than dominance and no stimulation towards an eventual goal of privacy and naturally occurring stimulation. In the old days in history, there were revolutions and these intelligent, brilliant, genius ideas everybody fought about in war, causing suffering. Long before we had computers on Earth in outer space, to explain what we've achieved and accomplished and eliminated as problems, and what we have as our achievement with civilization and information now easier to learn with Amazon and textbooks and a university and college and a public transit bus. What's different with no stimulation and dominance has to do with what's not included, already required in outer space with gender. No babies, no civilization, in other words. A human, another human, love. There's a baby. But what prevents the calmness of love and the colorful beauty of noticing two humans who are inseparable has to do with those language and those mathematics dominant humans, almost always men, practiced with nobody disagreeing, risking death and dying and suffering, telling another human who's especially male they disagree. Currently, though, Currently though, currently though, currently though, currently though, currently though. A human who's dominant and doesn't receive their stimulation does not so different of an example as North Korea and their projectiles. Russia fighting Ukraine in a war. And more examples causing more emotion. I've nearly lost making dinosaur brain and heart for an object in outer space with humans who call me a retard, who has a disability. And has no other worth other than my economic value for those who are dominant. A dominant human, no stimulation. And then another human provides stimulation indirectly without paying attention to a human who's nonverbal and autistic. Another human interacts and there's stimulation. They work in a restaurant, a business, with other employees who participate in their game of attention and awareness and dominance. Until there's love at first sight, and then nothing else other than no stimulation and dominance. Dominance caused and from not needing what other humans provide with their dominant brain and body. Dominance from sovereignty, health, and strength, different than dominance for stimulation. Dominant humans who dominate other humans for money and fighting and boxing and mixed martial arts. Dominance has nothing more to do with having no confusion, no mystery, no secret to solve, and no mathematics to learn and figure out, and no language to speak other than namaste, thank you, and whatever else another human wants for me to not be bullied and harassed and nearly beaten to death for what they see as a threat with strength and dominance. Interpreted as violence potential for disrupting them and their stimulation. Two dominant humans with no stimulation. They're not attracted to each other. They're not trying to have a baby. They're friends. They're acquaintances. They don't care other than what they're doing, not involving suffering. Until a human tells another human they're dominant and require behavior and obedience. Therefore, they have, in so many words, with their dominance.